Sometimes it amazes me. Everything is just built so beautifully, and you go in there and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I'd like to live here, you know? And then you go through a door and then it's just, well, okay, there's nothing here, you know?
To celebrate our community of local artists, the Art Museum of South Texas is asking 10 creatives one question. What 10 tools do you use to make blank?
My name is Chapa, and I'm the owner of the Aurora Arts Theatre. Putting on a show or a production, a theater production, is quite interesting because it involves so many different talents. You might think, oh, just get up there and act and I'm in a show. But so much more has gone on before you even take that first step onto the stage on opening night. We usually typically rehearse for about, depending on the type of show it is, between 6 and 8 weeks. Even a month before the first rehearsal starts, or 2 months before the first rehearsal starts, we have to order the rights. And then the process begins to determine who's going to direct it, who's going to be our vocal director, and stage managers, and things of that nature. So once all that has been done, then we schedule a date for auditions. And it's just a lot of fun to see who comes out and watch everybody do their best. So once everyone comes out, the director makes a selection, and then we have a cast, and then it starts. The costuming. And sometimes the costuming is such that we need it from a certain time period, so we may not be able to go into a department store and find that costume, so we'll have to make something. So I have a lot of patterns, and sometimes we go to antique shops and try and find things that are period, but if we can't find anything, we do have patterns and fabric, and we'll make our own to suit our needs. And it usually starts with a drawing. And these drawings here are the drawings of Kevin Craig, who was our scenic designer at the time. So sometimes you'll find in his sketchbook, he'll have the grand view of what it's going to look like, but then he'll hone in on one specific aspect and say, okay, this is what I want to do in this area. Then we have the color palettes. We always make sure that it follows the color palette that we want it to have. It's a really important process, very tedious one, I'm sure. But once the set is built, then we start all the painting, and then comes in set design. We always use live musicians. Pianist Tanya Stiegel is our music director, and she is just amazing, and she pretty much just handles all of the music, and she meets with all her musicians, and depending on what the needs are for a musical, we'll either have anywhere from one instrument in there. If it's just a piano, we've had as many, I think, as 6 or 7, possibly, maybe more. The scripts are what the actors take home to learn their lines, and they mark in them, and they memorize where they need to be, where they need to stand, and that's blocking. And so they're able to make those notations in their script, and then for the most part, they return them. So we don't always get them all back, but the spike tape is used to mark a spot in the blocking, especially if you're going to have props come in and out and you don't want to be in the wrong place. So we mark off things, and they'll say, okay, this is where this counter is going to be. You can't be standing or dancing there because you're on top of a counter. During Tech Week, the actors will start using their mics, and whoever is running sound will make sure that those are set to the right volume for that particular actor, and the actor has to come in beforehand and get all that stuff set up before we actually start the play for that evening. And then lighting is also a big part of any production, depending on what the director wants the play to feel like in those terms. He or she may want a certain color to create a certain feeling. And a gel is basically a very strong piece of plastic that can sustain great amounts of heat that come out of this light. The throw of that light can be pink or blue or orange or whatever it is that you'd like, and it'll kind of cast that over the set or that particular scene as needed for that show. Wigs are also a big part of the show, depending if it's a period piece. We want to get 50s hairstyles, and sometimes we have actors who like to do it on their own, use their own hair to create that style, and that's always fun, but it's just a lot more work instead of having a wig that does that all for you. Once we've made a decision on a show, then we're committed, and if it requires 30 people, then that's what we're going to get. But we do encourage all the community, whether you've been in a show or not. We don't close doors to anyone who wants to audition. We're not going to say you can't audition this because maybe you're not old enough, or you're not, because really when you think about acting, you're going to project that image of that character. So it really doesn't matter how old you are. So I think our main focus has always been just to invite everyone who wants to explore this avenue and try something new. It's not necessarily a guarantee to stardom, by no means, but if this makes you feel good, and if you meet people there, and I mean, you're gonna, if you go to the theater, you're gonna establish friendships. I mean, lifelong friendships. And you meet people from all walks of life. I think it's mostly just about trying something new and having fun.